Hello, everyone. This is Marianne here from Revealing Light Tarot, Astrology and Spirituality. How are we all today, wherever you are in the world? When you're watching, a huge shout out to you. Now, I wanted to do this one final look at the midterms. I know what my gut feelings have been telling me for about, oh gosh, 6 months ago. I was reading on this. I felt, as you know, I'll say it again, that they retain the Senate and it's very close in the House. Before Roe v. Wade, I thought it was a bit of an uphill battle to retain the House, but post the overturning of Roe, I feel that the momentum is there. The reason for today is I wanted to look at the astrology chart. There is a lunar eclipse, a blood moon lunar eclipse on the midterm election day, and what we see there, I think the most striking aspect, I'll pull the chart up in a minute, is a T-square. And this is all about a huge cosmic battle, very much going on here, not just in America, but in other parts of the world too. Now, we all know what's up for grabs, what's at stake here. And we've been told by experts and leaders, we've been told on the Democratic side that democracy is on the line, and on the GOP side, the Republican side, we've been told what they want to do in no uncertain terms: get rid of many parts of Social Security, to be even more extreme in matters like pro-choice. Some in the red states, really extremists, have been talking about removing a woman's right to contraception. Now, the reason that I'm leading with these type of reports is that you will see shortly in the chart what I think via an astrology lens might play out. And women are going to come out en masse and really win this election for the Democrats, women and young people. But there's something particularly prophetic, profound about what is happening to women in the US at this time, that if it were to succeed, might flow on. And the way that we've got this Christian nationalism occurring, it reminds us of what is happening in the Middle East. And I've said before, in places like Iran, we're seeing a revolution for women. In places in the US, we're seeing an extremist ideology which seeks to control women. It's like the worlds have been flipped in a way. So cosmic battle indeed. Let's just take a look at the chart and you'll see what I mean. So the eclipse is occurring in Taurus at 16 degrees. Now, as you know, Uranus has been in Taurus for some time now, and it has that life-changing hard square with Saturn. Saturn is now in Aquarius, and we've seen when these squares occur. I think this is sort of the last of it. It's not exact, but it's close. We've got Uranus at 1657. Here in this, I've cast this chart over Washington, D.C., in the 7th house. And we've got the moon also at 16 degrees as well. And we have this square here between Saturn at 18 degrees. So it's not an exact square between Uranus and Saturn, but it is very close. But the thing that stands out to me in this chart, I want you to look at these red lines. Now, the red lines, as I say, are the oppositions and the squares, the conflicts and the hard aspects that tell you that we're in for a bit of a battle. Either two forces, in the case of opposition, pulling away from one another, or in the case of squares, conflict. Who's going to win? Who's going to come out on top? So we have a T-square. What's a T-square? As I said, it's one of the most challenging patterns in astrology. It is when something is opposite something else. So you see the red line, obviously in an eclipse, the moon in Taurus opposite the sun in Scorpio. Now you have a third planet becoming involved because you have the squares here between Saturn squaring the sun in Scorp, and Venus in Scorpio, and also it looks like the sun, and squaring also the moon. So we have this T-square here, setting things up for a real battle. Now the question is, who's going to win? Who's going to win? Well, I go down to Saturn in Aquarius. When Saturn moved from Pluto to from Capricorn to Aquarius, things began to change. The old plutocracy, autocracy, started to come under huge amounts of truth and transparency and accountability when we saw Saturn moving into Aquarius. Now, in this particular chart, so who's going to win? Is it the moon? Virtually, well, not virtually, is conjunct with Uranus. So there's a revolution happening in this chart. So the moon conjunct with Uranus and also conjunct with the North Node in Taurus. I've talked about this before. It is the anchor of stability. Taurus is a fixed sign, a determined sign. It does not give up. I know that from personal experience. Someone very close to me is a Taurian. They don't give up. They're there for the long haul. They are the anchor in the storm. But Uranus is the planet of change and revolution. So it doesn't matter how much Taurus wants to kind of, be safe and stand still and make sure everything's okay. Uranus is pushing Taurus, so pushing that determination forward. The North Node bringing us our knowledge of what, in this lifetime, of what is stability. What does stability mean? And if you look at the idea of the South and the North Node, we already know what the conditions are for stability. Now, the opposition here in the seventh house, of course, in Washington, is open enemies and partnerships. Ironically, in Washington, D.C., in the seventh house, wouldn't that be a surprise to know that the headquarters for politics in the US is in Washington, D.C.? So open enemies. Also partnerships. Partnerships are very important when it comes to election time. Now, the opposition here is over to, obviously, the sun in Scorpio. But here we have these other conjunctions here. Scorpio, on not only in the first house, but on the ascendant as well. So what have we got? Conjunct. So when something is conjunct, the energies meld, the energies merge. So we've got Mercury, planet of communication, sun in Scorpio, huge potential to bring endings and for new beginnings and for transformations to occur, sitting where? Alongside Venus. Venus values ourselves. So all of this, the square here to Saturn in Aquarius, is reminding us that we need to act for the good of the collective, for the good of the many. So how might this play out in the midterms? Okay, well, let's keep going. So we have also these beautiful blue lines, which are the trines and the sextiles, the harmonious flows, the little bit of a help. We have Sun sextiling Ceres in the 11th house in Virgo. There's a lot of information out there for us to consume. It's an abundance of information for the collective to consume. I have to bring in Twitter here because I do think this is also aligned a little bit with the elections and the potential for misinformation. Twitter, it's fair to say Elon Musk is literally blowing up the Twitter. I knew I've been on there since 2012. People are seeking out new forms of social media, but at the same time, they're acknowledging, remember the stability here, our idea of what it takes to be stable, to keep a society stable. The idea that one billionaire can take over a collective social media platform, turn it private, and within about a week to 10 days, I think it's over 1 million people have left Twitter. Many more will leave Twitter. It's a downward spiral in about 10 days, and the potential for misinformation is huge. Now, I did say that post midterms, there will be some kind of inquiry into this Twitter takeover, and I feel that the foreign investment comes under scrutiny. So huge with that Mercury there, huge, and Mars in Gemini, huge potential here for us to see the truth about our social media platforms. Where does the hate speech get seeded? It gets seeded on social media platforms. So this is why I am, and media as well, why I'm bringing the Elon Musk Twitter takeover into this, because we are getting an abundance of information on what we need to keep this society stable. Now, women, let's get back to how women might influence the vote here. All right, so we have Eris, the warrior goddess, in the 6th house of sacrifice. Eris, remember, would go onto the battlefield and slay the men. There is a trine here to Mars in Gemini. So women have been particularly organized during this election cycle. We may not have actually heard about it, certainly not in the last 10 days, but if we dig around, we'll see just how organized women have been. Now, the fact that it's in the 6th house talks about the health of our society, the health of our civil society. It wouldn't surprise me if Republican women are going into the voting booths and voting Democrat. So what is the potential here? Who's winning? I don't think any one of these planets here, the sun, the moon, Saturn, is actually going to win. I think that the T-square, this red triangle here in the center of the chart, is working as it's meant to work, because everything that I have seen about astrology has a karmic element to it. They are working in unison through the conflicts, through the oppositions, to bring us into a balance. Now, I have my Saturn in my natal chart in the 8th house in Capricorn. Not an easy placement. Jupiter's there in the 8th house in Aquarius as well. So in the 8th house, I know a little bit about the Capricornian and the Aquarian energies. So down here in this chart, we have Pluto in Capricorn in the 3rd house, and there's an inconjunct to Mars in Gemini here. That's that mysterious green line, meaning no two things quite fit. This is why I think this chart tells us that a revolution is happening for democracy, for choice. Make of that what you will. Saturn, additionally, Saturn in Aquarius, the many, the group. There is a trine, a harmonious flow, a little bit of help, a trine to Mars in Gemini in the 8th house. So we're seeing what is wrong every time Politicians make a blunder. We see it and we judge it for ourselves. Why? Because Saturn in Aquarius is really almost on top of us and saying, it's not just about you. It's about what is good for democracy, for choice, for our freedoms, for the future. Aquarius is a future-oriented sign. So we're seeing what is wrong in our communications, whether they be media, social media, polls. I've talked about the misinformation being spread with polls. We're seeing what's wrong. There's a lot of truth here. So why do I think that this chart talks about a revolution driven by women and young people, which will provide a win for the Democrats? Let's get back to that. We have a sextile. I'm just going to go to the sextile between Neptune in Pisces, what is coming into form, and the moon in Taurus. We also have a trine from Neptune in Pisces all the way over here to the sun in Scorpio. We know we can't bring something into form unless we let go of something and rebirth something new. Remember, this is a chart with a T-square, the red triangle, which talks about huge evolutionary forces. Uranus conjunct the moon, conjunct the North Node in Taurus, opposite. Mercury conjunct the sun, conjunct Venus in Scorpio. Scorpio is not just about endings. Scorpio in this first house and on the ascendant talks about beginnings. The fact that it's on the ascendant in this Washington DC chart tells us the battle the battle will be won, but there is no reason to sit on your laurels, because until there's a hell of a lot of cleanup to do, and that will be happening over the next couple of years. So, okay, I just want to briefly talk about Chiron in Aries here in this fifth house of expression. I looked, thanks to another astrologer, on Mastodon, which is where I am now. I'm still on Twitter, but I'm on Mastodon as well. I really like what I see. We were looking at Elon Musk's chart. If I've got time in the next few weeks, I will talk about his chart. Transiting Chiron in Aries is conjunct his own Chiron in Aries. Very publicly, I think it's in his 10th house. So here it's in the 5th house of expression. Sometimes Chiron, the wound, Chiron is all about, it's about healing the wounds. Sometimes Chiron in Aries can be very petty. And if you look at what's going on our social media, you will see that the trolls and the idea of piling on somebody is extremely low vibration. And Chiron in Aries is about the identity. What do you want to be known for? Aries, of course, is the first house and the house of beginnings. So there's potential there for beginnings, and there's also potential to understand where our choices have gone wrong, and to try and start to do something about it. And that's why Uranus is there. And that's why there's been this hard square there, not exact in this chart, but still squaring to Saturn in Aquarius. The revolution is about handing power back to the people. Now I'm going to pull from the Thoth deck, and we'll just take one last look at the House and the Senate. This is, whether you heard it from Barack Obama's mouth or Joe Biden's mouth or any of the Democratic candidates' mouth, I think Pennsylvania is a real watershed moment there. And that's why we saw Biden and Obama go to Pennsylvania and hold that rally. This is a battle for democracy. And when many are saying this will be, if we don't get this right, it's the last fair election, they're not wrong, because already candidates for the governor in Arizona, for example, are talking about election denying yet again. All right, so we know what we're up against. Let's take a look at the cards now. Also want to say that it's not always possible in my time format to consider every single aspect or element of that chart. I simply go where the intuition leads me, where I think I should go in a chart. So it's by no means a comprehensive reading. I'd probably have to spend a couple of hours on it and give it a whole lot more, I guess, thought, contemplation than what I have done. But I've covered the basics that I see that are jumping out. The Princess of Discs comes out here. Very earthly, very grounded. She's a princess. All right, I think there's quite a lot of resilience out there in terms of voters. So let's have a look. We're likely to see women come out in force, women and young people, but I'm just getting this draw to women. We're likely to see, of course, young people too. Young people, young women. Are we going to see young women and women generally coming out in force for the midterms, to vote in the midterms? Okay. So we're seeing the Six of Swords. Science is here. This is the opposite to misinformation. This is about theories that are tested and become fact. Now, the Six of Swords talks about moving out of strife, out of trouble, through logic, through that logic, deductive type of process. It's a yes card, by the way. The Prince of Wands is very much a card of quick movement. We've got a revolution here moving us forward. And we have the Princess of Swords. I think that's our answer, isn't it? The truth emerging again. Very quick moving cards pushing us in another direction. A direction of what? Traditionally, the Two of Swords is the crossroads card. Here it talks in the Thoth deck. Remember, designed by Lady Frida Harris. It talks about peace. Peace is like a redemption, which is why I think you're going to get some Republican women literally going into the voting booth and voting for the Democrat candidate. Right, now, I've said they're going to be surprises. Please, this is not a Pollyanna reading. There will be surprises on both sides. I've talked about those before. I talked about the potential for violence a couple of months ago. I talked about, and then we saw that transpire. I talked about some trouble for Beto O'Rourke in Texas, and we saw that transpire in terms of reports that voting machines were changing votes from Beto to Abbott. Texas, the degree of political administrative corruption, it's making it very hard for a Democrat to win. I so hope Beto wins. But let's take a look at, I think the governor races will surprise us. I think that there's going to be some blue governors elected in places that you wouldn't expect. Just governors aside, if you want to take a look at the vote in Kansas, you'll start to see why. Okay, so let's take a look, because ultimately now the governors have to bring forward that legislation on pro-choice. All right, let's go to the midterms, please. Let's go to the midterms. There's a lot of despair. I'm seeing people with literally their head in their hands. really despairing. This is an overriding mood here. Okay, so midterms. Let's go to the House, please. This is the most difficult I have felt for a long time to call in terms of predictions. The House, the Democrats going to win. The House, are the Democrats going to win? The House. Princess of Cups. Okay, so there's a surprise coming that no one is expecting, but it's also an offer of something. What's coming out of that seashell is a turtle. Slow. It's like slow and steady is going to win the race. To be cliched about it. There is some kind of not abundance here, but some sort of gift here. Let's see what's crossing at the Queen of Coins. These are, of course, are yes cards. Queen of Coins talks about, for me, security, and in terms of she is looking over the field. She has a very long-term view. So a surprise around a long-term view. The Chariot, another very strong yes card, is at the foundation of this reading. It's going to be a wild ride. When I say that, you're going to get surprises that you weren't expecting. Now, we've got the Four of Swords in the past. This is like a truce. It's like a retreat, but it's in the past. Let's see what's in the sky. The Knight of reliability, stability, the long haul. This is Taurus energy. This is why I think that you're going to be surprised. There's all these reports that the Republicans will win the House. Now we've got the Hermit, introspection, isolation, review. So the results won't be known straight away. There's going to have to be this process, as there was in the 2020s, where the election deniers get taken to court, where we start to see anomalies coming out. Now, right now, we have the Five of Cups in the here and now, disappointment. I'm afraid that people don't think the Democrats will hold the House. Five of Cups, regret and disappointment. Even the Democrats themselves are coming out and saying we should have been doing more. Okay, we've got the moon, which is the eclipse occurring, a lunar eclipse, the moon, something coming to the surface. These are in the here and now cards positions. So let's take a look and keep going. The hope is for this new start. The sun promises that. The sun in Scorpio promises that something will come to an end and newness begins. Whew. The Ace of Cups is the outcome. It is a yes card. Remember my question, please. And we have the Prince of Swords, the truth. The truth, this election reveals a huge truth that nobody is expecting. And we've got the Tower here occurring as well. People wanting to bring a truth forward. Let's see what's, oh dear. So the base of the pack is heartbreak. That would go with the Tower and the despair that I've seen. And we've got oppression. Oppression of who? Oppression of women. And so this is why I feel the Nine of Pentacles, gain, and the Three of Cups, celebration. And when I see my star card, doesn't matter whether it's at the base of the pack, the underlying energies, or in outcomes, I start to be hopeful. As close as I can call it, this is a close race, and I'm still going to say, even if the result isn't known straight away, I think the Democrats can hold the House. My initial prediction was by like one vote. And it could even be with an independent vote. I don't know why I'm going there. I don't know of any independents in the House that caucus with the Dems. But it's very, very close. The result may not be known straight away. You could be disappointed if you subscribe to social media that is going to have the petty MAGA morons descend upon you. Stay off it. Pick your trusted news source. Google, favorite it. Keep going back to that. All right, now we go to the Senate. I'm hoping this will be an easier read. All right, the Senate. The Senate. Show me the Senate, please. The Senate in the midterms. Senate, please, in the midterm. Revolution, cosmic battle, star card. Hope. Okay. The Senate. Will the Democrats win the Senate? Will the Democrats hold and win the Senate? Will the Democrats hold and win the Senate? I'm seeing ice cream. Okay, Two of Wands, Dominion. So again, we're not going to know the results straight away. Please don't despair like you did before. Remember, hold the faith. Dominion. And the Three of Cups, abundance. Now, I said likely three, cut 2 to 3, maybe hopefully it might even be more. Let's just say you're going to gain some seats in the Senate that you didn't have before. The Chariot turns up again as the foundation of the reading. So telling me this is going to be, it's not going to be smooth. People are going to deny. Now we've got the 10 of Cups, which is the voter in the past, and we've got the 10 of Coins in the sky. I think the Senate has been, that's family and inheritances, legacies. It's also the campaign donations as well. I think there's been a lot of money poured into holding that Senate. Now we've got the 2 of Coins in the immediate future, change. Okay, so change. There is going to be change. That's Jupiter and Capricorn here. So decision time, but it's in the immediate future, change. So you're not going to get the status quo. You're not going to get the status quo. The results won't be known straight away for either the White House or the Senate. We have reliability and stability in the here and now. We have the Prince of Wands, movement toward reliability, stability, moving away from extremism. I hope this is the shock that the Republicans get. The 3 of Wands, virtue in the hopes and fears. And the Queen of Discs is the outcome card for the Senate. Remember, she's got an eye on the horizon. People are going to vote for stability. They're going to vote for Democrats. And we have the 7 of Wands. Remember the Valor card, the 7 of Wands. In the Rider-Waite, it talks about having to defend the victory. But this is really about the revolution, the cosmic battle is one of valor. Because for every advocate, activist, for every not-for-profit requesting freedom of information, requesting or taking the battle up to the court or holding people accountable, the truth doesn't emerge if you don't have a democracy. Okay, one last card, the Moon, the eclipse. Okay, so it's a really things coming to the surface, which is why the Chariot is there. So I'm getting a yes for the Senate. I'm going to say 2 to 3 seats. I'm hoping 3. I'm going to say that the Senate, again, my reading hasn't changed, stays in Democrats' hands. I'm going to say the House is harder to call, but after time, after battles, I think the Democrats retain the House. And the Queen of Wands is at the base of the pack, the women, the young women, the middle-aged women, the older women, the Republican women. They're coming out to lead this revolution and keep democracy sane, basically. All right, that's the reading. I'll finish it up now. Thanks for tuning in. I'll come back on hopefully later on in the week. But I just want to say, please don't despair. Results of your elections may not be known straight away. And stay away from media, who really, for the last few election cycles, have got it so very, very wrong. Bye for now.